What is up, guys and girls? Hurricane Liz here. It's the crack of dawn in Miami and it's cold. So I'm going to be quick about this because I'm freezing my butt off. But let's talk about the two most important factors in all of KDP. And these might surprise some of you guys. They might not. Some of you guys are pretty quick learners. Some of you guys are pretty darn intelligent and genius. But I will say this much. I'm also going to, as a surprise, throw in a site that the big publishers are using to quickly and easily rank their products, as well as get all that tremendous amount of social proof. So you guys are going to be shocked at what these big guys are doing. All that and a heck of a lot more in this video. So I'm super fired up. My cat, which most people pointed out, is never fired up. She's still in bed, but without her, the show must go on. So let's do this. All right, so we're here in my screen share and let's take a look. So what I'm going to show you guys, and I'm going to try to give you the best possible explanation as to why these two factors are the absolute most important factors in order to rank your book, keep your book ranked, and get sales on Amazon. And while they might be obvious at first, I'm also going to show you some of the tricks that really big publishers actually use to take advantage of this, especially when the book first comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and illustrate this in the best possible way that I can. And the best possible way would be to show you how books that get a tremendous amount of traffic manage to maintain their rank and or get reviews. So the gist of this video is just that. It's not really the extra little hack that publishers use, but that's just a bonus for you guys, especially you guys that regularly watch this channel. So let's go ahead and talk about how I'm going to be able to illustrate this, because it's really difficult to illustrate it unless you can split test a lot of books and run them all with actual PPC, but then you would have to get extremely aggressive with the PPC, often outbidding yourself for the top spot. Without me confusing you guys anymore, let's go ahead and just jump into this site that I'm going to use in order to illustrate this. So the site in question that I'm going to use to illustrate this is called Slick Deals. And now a lot of you guys might have actually used this to get deals or are actually aware that this site exists. Let me explain why I'm going to use this and how the big publishers are actually using this to their advantage, particularly when they first launched their book. So on this site, you can see all sorts of deals, particularly for Amazon. And as you can see right here, they've noticed that I've actually been looking at the books in particular, and they are recommending a couple books that I take a look at that currently have deals. So you can see this I Spy Everything would be a perfect example of it, as well as this Dragon's Breath. It's a Kindle ebook that's currently available for $0. And you can see 87 people have thumbed up this actual book. Now I can continue to look for more here, but chances are I'm not going to really find any of the type of books that we're talking about, because a lot of the really big publishers post things here. So it's questionable as to whether or not this first one here is from a really big publisher, but that's kind of besides the point. So now let's talk about how people actually get their deals on here, and then we'll go ahead and go into the proof is in the pudding. So first and foremost, the way that you get a deal on here is by creating an actual account and gaining clout. Like, the way that you actually gain clout is by posting these awesome deals. And so the more clout that you have on this site, the more chance that the actual deal that you actually post up there gets some ranking and people start to see it, and it could potentially go viral. And as well as your clout will allow you to post more legitimate deals, as well as mix in some of your own. So you don't want to just jump in here out of the gate and post one of your deals immediately, because then it's not going to be considered as legitimate. And again, I will get into another video as to how we could potentially use this for KDP. And while I will be upfront with you guys, I have not tested it yet. I do have some ideas on how to test it. But the first things first is you have to have clout and you have to have an account. Now, let's go ahead and show you what I actually found by looking on this site. So before we get into why Slick Deals is so important here, let me first talk about how incredible it ranks from a global perspective. So take a look at this actual screenshot from SimilarWeb that tells you basically which websites are most popular in the world, and you can break it down by region, but you'll notice that the global rank for Slick Deals is 923, meaning that it is the 923rd most popular site in the world. So as a result, you can imagine the type of traffic that this actual site gets. And that's exactly why we're using it for this actual demonstration. So let's go and see what Slick Deals has now. So I typed in coloring book, and you can see we get all these different coloring books that came back. And now I happened to actually pre-look at these before I actually started recording this video. And here's what I actually found. So let's go ahead and begin the demonstration by showing you what I managed to find. So this was one of the coloring books that was actually featured on here. And when I clicked into there and went into Amazon, here's what I noticed. All right, so this particular coloring book cover, I would say for a coloring book, while it's kind of creative and interesting, it wouldn't be my ideal of a book that I would be coloring. I mean, even the actual book cover where it has coloring all outside of the lines, and I know that it's for a mindless coloring book for highly stressed. So the cover didn't catch my attention, and I don't know if it catches your attention. So I wouldn't give it a thumbs up for a cover. I'd put it somewhere in the middle. However, the social proof is there. It has 129 ratings, and let's take a look at what the actual overall BSR is for this actual product. So BSR of 106,000 in books, and that's pretty good. I mean, I think you would agree with me that that is a pretty good actual BSR. And so this book does overall pretty well. And again, it has a decent cover as well as a pretty decent amount of social proof. So now let's look at another actual book. This book is an adult coloring book. And now I know this one is more branded and it's based around Rick and Morty, which are extremely popular. But I would have to say that the cover pretty much matches what Rick and Morty stands for. It looks pretty good. It gives you the gist that it's a coloring book and it has all the major characters. So I give the cover a thumbs up, and obviously it has a tremendous amount of actual reviews, over 1,100 ratings. And as a result, this book is actually 33,000 in books, which is fantastic, right? So now you can see a bit of the differences, a mediocre book to a really good book. Now, obviously this book is branded and has a lot of branding behind it and a lot of popularity. However, the fact remains that I am going to show you a couple of examples that don't have that, but have fantastic covers. And again, I hope you're seeing the gist of how Slick Deals works. Is it sends a tremendous amount of traffic to your listing to get started, as well as that turns into more reviews, more social proofs, and so forth. So here is another one from Creative Haven Cats, who this Creative Haven does a heck of a lot of coloring books. And if we look on Amazon for Creative Haven, here is their book. It's somewhat decent, but it does have the social proof, but I wouldn't say this cover is like a banger. It's definitely not the most fantastic thing that I've ever seen, but we will scroll down here and notice that it's 40,000 in books. So it's still doing pretty well. Now, that could be just because of the branding. Okay, so the next one is this children's preschool workbook. So let's take a look at how this actually looks. This one, again, they released it through Slick Deals and they still tend to run it through there pretty often. And right now it's $10.15. The other thing that I want you guys to casually be paying attention to is what the price is that they actually offered on Slick Deals versus what the price is now. So that's how they're doing these massive discounts on an external site, driving all that traffic here, in turn getting them a bunch of ratings, and then just having a really solid cover for that good CTR, the good conversion as terms of people buying it, and then giving them a bestseller. So this one here, right here, has 3,100 ratings, which is insane. And it's also got a pretty good cover, like a little panda drawing some crap on a easel, and he's having a good time. He doesn't have any bamboo. He's not kicking back any shots or anything like that. But hey, this is for kids. It's not for adults. So if we scroll on down here and see what Mr. Panda is doing, Mr. Panda is at a 5,000 in BSR. And again, it goes to show you what that social proof can literally do for a book when you've got the right other things in place, which is traffic and a hell of a good cover. So Mr. Panda crushing it. And the other thing that I want to point out from Mr. Panda is, while I believe this is from a pretty decent sized publisher, which again is using all these tactics because these are high level tactics, they probably have a pretty good email list, as we talked about in the Jade Summer video, which if you haven't seen, I do recommend you see that, which I will go over how to create your own in the future. But it's still doable by a publisher, a self-publisher like you or me, if we actually take the time to actually do all this. So it's Rockridge Press, which is a pretty gigantic publisher, but still, that's what we get here when we put all those combinations in place. So here's the third one. It's a Scratch and Sparkle Children's Scratch Off Unicorn Activity book. So this particular one is probably a physical copy, but if you notice with this one, it has 1,800 rankings. Again, that social proof has an awesome cover. I love this cover. I think it stands out. It looks sparkly. It looks fun. And as a result, here's $14.50 in books. So again, they utilize those two major things in a book besides the traffic, which I'm showing you where they get the traffic from. All right, here's the next one. This is a Don't Let the Pigeon Finish This Activity book, which is also from a pretty popular series. On a side note, a third actual factor that affects this is if you're branded. And this is by Mo Williams, who has 951 ratings, a fantastic little cover with a cute little pigeon. Looks amazing. And if we scroll down and look at his BSR, this BSR is 10,000 in books, so doing exceptionally well. Now, here we get to the bad, the ugly, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. And here we come to the ugly, and I'll talk about why this is so ugly, but let's take a first quick peek at the actual Amazon listing, which has got this kitten and these little stick guys with pencils. Now, first of all, nothing matches. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, this cat looks like a cat ripped straight from a vector site. And these little kids, I don't even know where they got these kids, but these kids look like they are on meth or something, right? They're jumping on the pencil. They're trying to hump the pencil. They're doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And then on top of that, let's just throw in rainbows, because who the hell doesn't like freaking puppy dogs and rainbows, right? Kittens and rainbows in this case. And so take a look at the social proof. 1 rating. Now, the author name is kind of interesting as well, but 1 rating, tracing activity. But this looks like it was literally created by somebody that's Chinese. I'm going to say that because the Chinese usually will pick the most screwed up brand names and screwed up things like that, because they're just not native English speakers. And finally, if we scroll down and take a look at what the actual BSR, it's 3 million. So it doesn't even make sense for them to have posted in Slick Deals, and more than likely they posted it themselves, and this probably didn't get a lot of traction. So let's look at the second one, which I believe, based on the cover, it's made by the same person. Yeah, Care Not Fun, us. So why the hell would you name something if you care not to have fun? Especially us, right? It's care not have fun, and buy this book for our kids. They're gonna have a ton of fun since we care not to have fun. Activity book with these, again, these kids that look like they're totally on meth or ecstasy or something of that nature. And if we scroll on down to this particular thing, we can see that this has a 2.5 million in books, covers terrible, no social proof, has 0 social proof whatsoever, and it's been open since April. So April to now and 0 reviews. The book sucks. I'm sorry to say, but the facts are there. Cover sucks, no reviews. That's kind of how it goes. Here we have another one. This is a toddler's favorite coloring book. So with this particular coloring book, this coloring book does have 5 ratings since March. And while I wouldn't say the cover is terrible, I think the cover is actually pretty cute. This book is at or around 1.9 million in books. So it still hasn't done enough. And that's primarily because it's missing one of the 2 factors, which is social proof. So this, again, was basically a way to show you guys that you're going to need 2 big things, a nice cover and some social proof, in order to break into bestseller status. And here we go with the last one that's called The Pursuit of Happiness, a Zen Capybara coloring book, whatever in the hell that is. If I look over here, it's by Dr. Jonathan Terry. Now, this one has a fantastic amount of ratings, 127, and the cover is kind of like interesting. I don't even know what the hell's going on. What in the hell is cappiness? I don't know what cappiness. I don't know if this is like a chupacabra. I don't know if this thing is, it's a creepy looking thing with its hands up in the air, and it just freaks me the hell out. Like, I don't even like looking at it. And it's been around for quite a while, so that could tell you why it has 127 ratings. And if I look down at the actual total reviews, or the ranking, it is 559,000 in books, which isn't terrible, but I almost feel like it's missing a lot. I don't even know what the book is about. And the title has nothing to the effect of what kind of keywords it's drawing or any of that. The cover kind is like weird. And then lastly, it does have the social proof. And as a result of having that social proof, even though we don't even know what the hell this book is about, it's still at about 500,000, which I feel if he would have at least thrown in some keywords in there and such, especially with the amount of ratings he has right now, Amazon looks at this book very positively because it has sent so much traffic to it, particularly from Slick Deals. That's probably how it got its ratings. That's how it probably has gotten its sales. It's continued to be on there over and over again as they run deals constantly. I feel that this guy could sell a lot better. So that's just an example of the good, the bad, and this is just freaking flat out ugly as ugly gets. This is fug right here. All right, so that's pretty much it for this actual video on how to make sure you're actually utilizing the 2 most important factors in all of KDP, which is the cover and the click-through rate, and or the actual social proof aspect. So if you're not, you really have to consider doing that and putting some sort of system in place in order to capture at least the social proof. The cover, as I've already learned, can be swapped out, which is incredible. So any questions or comments, post them below. I always personally answer them, and I'll see you guys in the next video.